Hello and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
I've not got anything funny to
That's
say,
all right,
David, so let's, for the sake of time and minutes and seconds,
crack into it.
Yeah.
So we're doing a spotlight episode today, which is going to be on The Batman, which is the 2022... Don't know why I said it like that.
2022, David.
2022.
Saves a few seconds extra.
Robert Pattinson version, The Batman.
The Twilight Boy.
The Twilight Boy. It's funny when I think back to... Obviously, we started this podcast at the start of 2023.
Avatar, baby.
Yeah, and I think back and like, oh, we just missed certain movies. Do you ever think back on like, oh, I would have loved to talk about this movie. We just, like, obviously the podcast wasn't a thing. And The Batman was always one of those for me, like that I'd love to do a spotlight on The Batman.
Yeah, The Batman was one. I'm not going to linger on that thought anymore, David. Let's just get into it.
I think just before we start, we should preface that when we say we're going to talk about The Batman, we're going to spotlight this episode on
The Batman.
But we're not going to talk about the Penguin series. I think that if we're going to talk about the Penguin, it's only in the context of the film itself and not anything else after or any speculation on the Batman 2 or anything like that. We're just focusing on the film. I think that if we want to, it's good to say that isn't it great that after this film came out that we got a TV show based on a character that is to the same standard of which the Batman is.
Peacemaker to the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, they exist within the same world and they feel as though they're in the same world. That you can look at one and know that these two things are connected and you believe that one would follow on from the next.
Yeah.
But that's all we'll say about the Penguin in terms of the TV series. But so the Batman film.
Okay.
This was one I was anticipating for years. I remember during COVID.
Years how?
Like, I remember when that first test footage came out.
When it's in the dark and then
and he walks up,
and the Michael Giacchino score.
Yeah. When that I remember that coming out and oh my god, I remember it was like during 2020 COVID, like in lockdown, and we were watching it like I'd say I would watch it like on repeat, like it was so good. And I remember when that first trailer came out as well, the one where it ends with him beating the thug and says I'm vengeance.
Yeah,
like we would,
that teaser started off with the Riddler using tape,
yeah,
to strap on a guy's face, and the fact that was only shot for a few weeks, and at the end of the trailer said currently in production, and the music in that trailer as well, the Giacchino score and the Nirvana song, Something in a Way,
yeah,
that was a well constructed teaser.
It gave a real great sense of what this movie is going to be and the style of the movie and how it's going to feel.
A real noir setting.
Yeah.
Like that's
grittiness to it.
Yeah, like it really, we all knew this was going to showcase Batman the detective.
Yeah.
Not Batman the
superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was the right way to do it because there's been so many iterations of Batman where he is the superhero. Going directly from Ben Affleck's version where he's fighting aliens and, you know, teaming up with Superman and the Flash, to go to a very grounded Batman in his second year of being the hero and he's the detective and working with the police, but the police don't necessarily want to work with him.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very different feel from the previous iterations.
It's kind of like, not to play the compare game, but like it's because this is boots on the ground, a one-man army fighting off foes that could exist today. It's comparable to Christian Bale's Batman because
it's
that's
the easiest one to compare to.
Well,
absolutely.
yeah, because there is no aliens, there are no supernatural beings, there are no creatures or monsters. Like, you're not going to get a Man-Bat, you're not going to get a Clayface. If you're going to get a Mr. Freeze in this iteration of Batman, he's going to be a serial killer who freezes his victims.
Yeah, and he is a scientist and he is working towards like helping his wife. Like, we're going there in that route.
Yeah.
I think that it's the easiest comparison to make to Christian Bale because obviously the Dark Knight trilogy is a gritty version of the Batman.
Yeah.
But I think that this one, it just feels more real, doesn't it? Because I think when I think about like a man dressed up as a bat and him kind of not being fully a superhero, I see that in quotations, a superhero, I always think of when he escapes the GCPD and he glides down
You're
into
not-
the street.
You're not already talking about that scene.
I am. I'm just when I talk about him as a character of, he's not a superhero. He is a detective.
Yeah.
That he can't. That he glides and it's a wingsuit as opposed to the cape.
Yeah.
And it is very much he's in it himself. You know, it's
when you see him jump off this building compared to Christian Bale jumping off a building in Dark Knight, starts off on a wide shot with that Nolan-esque Hans Zimmer music, zoning in on him, and he just and he jumps off the building, not a bother on him.
yeah. He's a natural too. He knows what he's doing.
Christian Bale as Batman is a military figure.
Yeah,
He's got access to all this military and
He's definitely
fast
using
he's
the Wayne resources
yes
to aid him.
And Robert Pattinson's Batman has done it all himself.
Yeah.
He didn't go off in another country to train with ninjas. No, Alfred trained him. He's a recluse as the billionaire he is. He's not a playboy as the common thing. Like, he's very somber and quiet and dreary.
Yeah, well, two things on that. First of all, we barely see any Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It's almost all Batman. The only Bruce Wayne really we see is him in his apartment and then at the funeral.
Yeah,
the remembrance thing.
Yeah, and then of course later on with Falcone when he's talking to Falcone.
Yeah, but that's when I'm. Yeah, obviously that as well. But when I'm saying that kind of the funeral thing, I mean the public persona of Bruce Wayne.
But at the end of the day, he's still. There is no on switch. Okay, gotta appear as Wayne.
Yeah, the suave
because he's
womanizer. Yeah,
he's not what Christian Bale was doing and what apparently Ben Affleck was doing in some of those movies. But when I think of Ben Affleck as Batman, all I think of him is just Batman the superhero.
Yeah,
I can't think of because that's all it focuses on.
But and the other thing then, sorry, just before you jump ahead, is the difference of their Batmobiles. That Christian Bale has the militarized tumbler, huge thing, whereas Robert Pattinson has the souped up Dodge. Like it's a car that anyone could buy and he's just modified.
With a rocket at the end.
With a rocket on the end, that's his Batmobile. Like it's very much he's done it himself. If one of his pieces of equipment doesn't work, he's fixing it. He's not buying a new one, he's fixing it, and if he has it, it's because he's worked on it and he's chosen this. As opposed to Christian Bale walking in and Lucius Fox like, what have you got for me? He doesn't have someone to hand it all to him.
And I think that's why we believe this Batman more than we have in any other one.
Yeah.
We believe this one. We believe this is
could
real.
exist in our world.
Exactly, yeah. So, after now having spoken about Batman as a moral human who'll have a hesitation to jump off a building, he needs to catch his breath first. And his hand-to-hand combat in taking out goons. Still has his no gun rule. And probably Gotham's greatest detective. He's not the world's greatest detective, but he's Gotham's. Like the fact
that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
The fact that the Riddler was still able to outsmart him in certain scenes. The fact that Robert Pattinson's Batman still has some fear in him, a fear of losing Alfred, fear of being exposed as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's the only element that I would say that the Riddler doesn't have the advantage on him. That you're right that they could be directly comparable, where the Riddler is always one step ahead and he's always got Batman on his toes, but the Riddler never connects the two dots that the Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same person.
What an idiot!
I know, it's so simple, and he's got the dots right there. He just needs to draw a line between them. Like he's so close to it.
Yeah, see, that's one scene where he goes and meets the Riddler, and the Riddler starts talking to Batman about Bruce Wayne, saying, "Oh, poor Bruce Wayne, the orphan billionaire in his high mansion tower. Everyone feels bad for him." That everyone's forgotten about all of us orphans.
All the irregular orphans, yeah.
32 a room, fighting off rats, nubbling on your fingers. And I like that connection there. That non-forced sibling lost long brother element. Like the fact that
they're the same, but they're the same person, but have gone down different routes.
Because they've been established in different routes. They're both orphans, but the different
circumstances have led them to different paths in
exactly
life.
The fact that you nearly could, like, I remember someone theorized, I bet the Riddler is like Batman, Bruce Wayne's long lost brother or something like that, and no, that's too shitty of a fan thing to do.
Yeah.
But the fact that elements like that possible plot was sprinkled there, because you see a little kid in a news article with the appearance of what is the young Edward Nashton, who is the Riddler, who was in that choir singing while Bruce Wayne's parents were there announcing their donation to the orphanage. Obviously they don't, because someone needed money and shot them. And that's the theory I'm going with, I think. Anyway, part of me thinks, like, what if Falcone did do it? But I don't know. I like the fact that Alfred says, I can't be sure. Maybe it was someone who just needed money.
I do like that better. I always do kind of like the idea of that his parents were killed by just a common thief, that it was just someone normal, that it wasn't the Joker, it wasn't the Riddler, it wasn't someone like Falcone that got a hit out on them, that it was just a wrong place, wrong time. And if they hadn't have left, and I think that's what I like that much better, because it, especially when it's like that they've come out of the theater and that weighs on Bruce so much that if he hadn't have gotten scared, they wouldn't have been there, they wouldn't have gotten killed. I like that element more. So I think I kind of follow that. Just when I like to watch Batman, I like to think that it's a common thief. That it could have been anyone.
And I like that we didn't see it either.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do we have to see Bruce Wayne's parents die? We see it I think every director wants to do their Batman origin. They want to do their, here's how he became Batman, here's how his parents died. I'm glad that Matt Reeves, refrained.
I thought it was a stretch for Zack Snyder to do it, and then but then Todd Phillips did it in his way.
Yeah,
and even though he came at it with a different approach, because I like the violence of how when the father got shot in the Joker movie and the blood splat goes on Bruce Wayne's face, the child.
Traumatic, yeah.
The traumatic part, I like that, because it was violent. But yeah, it was a common thief. And knowing that this Batman, who he is, where do you sit on him?
In terms of where he is, in terms of my favorite Batman, or just in general?
I don't want to degrade myself to that, but yes.
I would say that he has the potential to be my favorite Batman. And the only reason that the reasoning I can give you behind that is, at the moment, it's Christian Bale. And because I've seen 3 movies with Christian Bale, and I've lived with Christian Bale as Batman for close to 20 years now, 2005 to now. It is 20 years now, 20 years.
Even though he's retired, he is my favourite Batman. However, Robert Pattinson gives such a good performance in this, and he gives such a great Batman, that when we get the Batman Part 2, and if we were to get the Batman Part 3, then he would become my favourite Batman, if he was able to give as good a performance as he does in this film. Because I think that it's just, I don't want it to be recency bias, and also there's more of the Christian Bale version. Yeah.
Now, is more better? No, because then you could say Ben Affleck, there's more of Ben Affleck. He appeared in so many films. But I think that Christian Bale, at the moment, it sits like Christian Bale, and then right on his heels is Robert Pattinson. And I'm in a way, I want it to be Robert Pattinson, but it is Christian Bale at the moment.
I get you.
What about you?
I'd have to watch any one of the Nolan movies again, but it's Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. And I can see why. I'm almost there,
Yeah, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Does the movie being good contribute to the ranking of the Batman in said movie? Because not only is this probably my favourite Batman movie, not only, and I gotta talk about the Gotham, not only is my favourite Gotham by far, and I'd have to watch any of the Nolan movies, probably The Dark Knight, but this is my favourite Batman movie.
See, I think that it's a good question. Does the movie itself contribute to it?
Because let's say this, we do like Ben Affleck as Batman, do we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I like him as that interpretation of Batman.
Oh yeah, it's not a favourite, but Is he better than the movies, or is he too good for the movies, or is the movies not good enough?
Yeah, I think the movies don't live up to him.
That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. I think he does a better job as Batman than the movies contribute him.
Yeah.
So maybe the movie needs to be a yin and yang in contributing to the great quality of the Batman interpretation. Mm-hmm. But this is my favorite Batman movie. Mm-hmm. I don't care. It's 3 hours long. I don't.
No, the runtime doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It never is relevant so long as you're entertained. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's not recency bias. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
like I feel quicker to go back to watch this Batman movie than any of the Nolan movies, because when I go to watch a Nolan movie, a Nolan Batman movie, it's too heavy in espionage and military tactics and prolonging sequences that, for a lack of a better description, I find boring. When I watched this Batman in 2022, and again sometime in between from watching it again recently for this recording, I was enthralled and I was engaged and I was invested, and I didn't even want to pause it to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. See, I can't say the same thing, I think, because when I first saw it in cinema, the next time I saw it was for recording this episode.
Oh.
So I've only seen it twice.
All right. I've seen it three times now.
There you go. So
right.
I think that when it does come to, would you rather watch this or The Dark Knight, I would probably say The Dark Knight.
Nah, yeah. I know,
but that's just me,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Like, if we were the same, we're boring. But no, if you were about to stick on a movie right now between those two, like I seen the Batman recently, but I would watch it again because...
So would I, absolutely,
but I've seen it recently. We both have. When was the last time we seen The Dark Knight? I would say, yeah, put it on, but...
You would still prefer to watch the Batman?
Because it feels longer. It feels like more of an investment. But it's shorter, is it not?
Yeah.
It is shorter. But I feel quicker to watch that other the Robert Pattinson one because of everything in it. And it's not just all the recognisable names and recognisable actors and characters in it. It's well paced.
Yeah,
and it's a great story. It's a mystery. Who doesn't like a murder mystery?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that is definitely an aspect that it has over any of the other ones. This one at all times feels like a mystery and feels like we're uncovering different elements to the mystery from different perspectives, because it's not all about the Riddler.
No.
It's got a secondary antagonist, and then it's got the Penguin is the kind of henchman to that secondary antagonist. Like, I wouldn't even really say that the Penguin is an antagonist. He is, in the sense that we have that like big car chase in the middle of the movie, and then obviously his kind of interrogation scene, or where he explains that they've got their Spanish wrong. Yeah. But otherwise, he's not really a villain other than running the iceberg lounge.
Do you want to go through the laundry list of characters and talk about them? I think that's a good way to break up this.
Yeah. Who do you want to talk about first then? I feel like we talked about Batman a good bit.
Yeah, and we'll circle back to him in the end.
Yeah.
Alfred.
Underused.
I agree, but I don't agree.
As in, I would love to see more of him, but what he has in the film is...
But you see, I know we're going to get more of him.
Yeah.
Like, every scene he's in, alright? And it's 4. 4 scenes.
Yeah.
I remember fans being concerned. Colin Farrell's only in 5 or 6 scenes. And they were being... What? He's not in the movie all that much. Bitch, sit down and learn something. Alright? He's in more than 5 or 6 scenes. The Penguin. Alfred is in 3 or 4 scenes. And they were very well executed. And I remember the casting. And I remember people thinking, he should have been Penguin. It would have been better. I was like, no.
I think he's a great Alfred.
Really, he's an Alfred who can kick the shit out of you.
He's the one that I believe has come from a military background.
And has trained Bruce.
Yeah.
And that I believe the father... I believe the father-son relationship with him, and like he's coming in and he's giving him his cufflinks and he's telling him you need to keep up appearances as Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne's just being a little bitch, a little rowdy teenager saying, "Stop, Alfred, you're not my father. Stop, Alfred, I don't want to go."
He hasn't gotten to that stage in his life where he acknowledges that Alfred is the closest thing to a father he's had his whole life, pretty much. Like, he hasn't gotten there yet, and I think that that's fine, because of where we are with this Batman, that it's his second year, you know, and he is in that grungy state of being disillusioned with Gotham, and and you know, he even says it like, well, am I doing what's right for Gotham and all, and he's the one that is, you know, I'm vengeance and all, and obviously towards the ends of the film we get to the point where he is, no, I have to be a beacon of hope.
We need to be talking about Alfred, not Batman.
I know, but like, I think that the relationship between them is good, and it's justified because of where he is as a character. If that were to carry on into another film, that's when there will be a problem, because I think that by the end of the film Batman has changed in his outlook, and so hopefully that is a change to how he interacts and sees Alfred as well.
Well, I think the screen time for the next one is going to be a contribution to that. But for this movie, like, I do miss him when he's not on screen. I do want more of him, but I'm okay with the screen time we have of Alfred here, because every time we do get him on screen, you're reeling in all the pleasure you get of Andy Serkis playing that character.
It's like a fleeting moment, and you just, I know I'm not going to get a lot of this, so I'm appreciating anything I get from it.
Well, I know after the fact of having watched the movie, you're not going to get much of him, but when you do get what you do have of him, like, I could even think about what's Alfred doing right now while Bruce is with Gordon. You know, I like those things, and I believe him as the caretaker of I don't know, his Enterprise, hardly his Enterprise, but like
Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah,
I don't think he's the caretaker. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, obviously it's not really much explored. The Bruce Wayne aspect is not really fully explored, really. No. But I'm sure we will. I like that he's walking with a limp as well. He's got like a walking stick, a cane, a crane, cane.
Yeah. It's a way of showing him, because I don't see Andy Serkis as like an older person, like in the same way that like Michael Caine feels like an old Alfred.
Yeah.
But it's providing him with a limp just does kind of, then obviously seeing walking with a cane, it does emphasize a little bit of elderliness to him. You know.
Yeah, it does. So he was great, and I love the scene where I think the best scene is the hospital scene where he's in bed and
when he confronts him.
I was just woken up from after being nearly killed by an explosion, and I'm happy to see the one young man I consider to be his son, and he looks at him. You lied to me.
No, I didn't lie to you. I kept you safe. Is it lying if you lie by omission? I guess so. It's not what you want when you first wake up from a near-death experience.
I like how he started to get vicious himself. Your father was a great man, like defending his father as if he was his best friend. I like that scene, and that's when Bruce admits that I finally realize I've not mastered all my feelings and my fears, and that I am concerned of losing people around me, and I like how this was a nice breakaway from the detective aspect of the story, and delving into his character a little bit more and growing, and then they both look up and they see that the bat signal has been lit, and then
well, it's a great side point to the main mystery. It's a different aspect of that main mystery, and then we get the consequences of that, but it's not like directly tied to the Riddler.
I know, but what I mean by that is I like that this was a nice plateau. This
character moment.
And like I want to stay in this room and just I want to sit here and I just want to talk to Alfred and just have the crack with him. And sorry, I gotta go to work. You gotta go back out there in the big bad scary world and into the grittiness of it all and confront the problems that this city has. I really like that scene, and especially when we're nearing towards the end. So moving on to Gordon.
It's funny when a movie's 3 hours and a lot of the characters I'm like, I just wish there was more of them. Like, I think it's a good problem to have, where I want even create such good characters that I want to see more of a lot of them. I really like the relationship between Gordon and the Batman, where
he calls him man every time.
Hey
man, I don't think that bat likes you, man. You could have pulled that punch, man.
And he works with him, and he's like, when he comes into that initial crime scene, that the cops are like, what is he doing here? He's contaminating the scene, and he's like, no, I called him in. He's here on my orders,
obviously, because
and he's not commissioner either. He's just a detective. He's Detective Gordon.
And I like how, obviously, we can theorize that Batman saved Gordon at one point, and that's what maybe brought them to meet. I think it's the best relationship between a Batman and Gordon we've ever got.
Yeah, I
think it's better.
Obviously, the first one that jumps to mind is Christian Bale and Gary Oldman.
And I love those actors.
Yeah,
but which relationship is better?
Maybe this one. Yeah, I feel like this one is a more trusting relationship. Yeah, because at one point doesn't Gary Oldman, he pulls a gun on Batman.
Yeah,
because he's like, don't go, like don't do this or something.
Yeah,
but Jeffrey Wright, he just believes in him. He trusts him, and he's to the point where they bring him to the police station, and he's like, the only way you're getting out of here is if you punch me in the face and go.
And even so, a question someone must have had: how come none of the police ripped off his mask when he was unconscious?
Because Gordon's preventing it. He's like, leave it. Yeah, you believe that it was Gordon's orders. Nobody touch him.
Yeah.
He's like, even though he's a vigilante and technically what he's doing is against the law, they still are relying on him and respecting his privacy.
I like I do think it was a bit funny, like the two of them just up in each other's faces, and from the perspective of the guards, like from the perspective of the police, I wonder what they're talking about, but they're just whispering to each other.
They're whispering, and then all of a sudden, bam, hit.
Yeah,
and no one questions it or anything. It's just go.
So when I was watching this movie, I knew I was looking forward to this, and when it was coming up, I clenched my fists and I folded my arms and I froze in my seat. That police station escape scene is a highlight for this movie.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you know what I love about it? I love all the swarm of police just charging after Batman.
Every policeman. There's none on the street. They're all in this police station.
Yeah.
They're all coming for Batman.
If there was a policeman sitting on a desk and he sees a commotion of a crowd chasing, they go up and they go running. They're standing in the hallway and they see this mysterious Batman figure crossing. Everyone's charging after him. I love how by the time he gets to the bottom of the steps and he shoots his gun to reel himself up, and that he goes up one level and the camera stops at one of the floors and the door opens and you just see a swarm of them.
That is not just the people that were chasing him, it's like everyone in the building on multiple levels.
All the police chasing after him. I just love the teamwork and commitment of all these
Gotham's finest.
Gotham's finest charging after this one Batman figure. And I liked how they didn't want him to jump either. They're not murderers. They assaulted a detective. I really love that sequence so much.
I think my favourite sequence between Gordon and the Batman is when it's a real detective scene when they go down into the garage and they find the thumb drive, and just the wordplay of the Riddler that he cut off his thumb and he went down to the car because drive, and then they found a thumb drive, and in the thumb drive you have to use the fingerprint to access it. I just love all that. Like, I think Gordon's like, this guy's a real joker or something like that. Like, he calls him like, I don't think he calls him a joker. Like, obviously that's a bit on the nose. But he's like, God, it's a funny guy. He's like, this guy.
He's toying with us.
Yeah, he's toying with us. I think that's a great scene, and like anything where Gordon is already at the crime scene and the Batman comes in. Like even with the rats and all. It's just some great scenes, and even when they're on the building and Selena Kyle is there, that Gordon is there as well. He's an integral part to the team, even though it's not a team, but it's Batman and Gordon and Batman and Catwoman. But not Gordon and Catwoman.
But you kind of have that even in The Dark Knight Rises a little bit towards the end of that movie as well. But I like how that it's all about Batman and his relationship with characters, and I'm not going to be actively thinking, oh, this side character has some dialogue exchange with this other side character. I'm not actively thinking that, but that is essentially what it is. It's all about Batman and his relationship with each individual character, even if some characters cross paths, like in that scene where Gordon is there with Batman and Catwoman is already there. I like the way that the bat signal is not at the top of the police station roof. It was in an abandoned building with construction still yet to be completed. Probably not going to be completed because of recession or something like that.
And I like with the bat signal that it's more so, it's not about calling Batman. It's a warning to the people of Gotham that Batman is out tonight. You know, go home.
That warning, that opening sequence where you see various robbers and thieves committing crime or felonies, graffiti, and then the score.
That opening scene is so good. It could be a closing scene. The movie could end on something like that, where he's given the dialogue and he's like, talking about how it's not a war. It's not that it's not them calling for me. It's to let them know I'm there, and then have Batman come out of the darkness and then cut to black. Like that is such a good scene as an opening scene. It could work as an ending scene.
You're right. You know, you're absolutely right. I do prefer it as an opening, though.
Oh, absolutely. No, listen, I'm just saying, in another movie, we could end the movie like that. But I think this one, the ending works perfectly. It's fine.
And I think it's better for an open here, because if you tacked it on at the end, I feel like, I don't know, I might be saying something differently if that was the case, where it was at the end. But I feel like we ease into the genericness of fighting off goons and defeating baddies.
Yeah.
That we need to be introduced into the meat of the story, which is that of the Riddler and eventually Falcone and whatnot. If you complete your story after all that meat, to then go into the genericness.
Oh no, I just meant up until he walks out. You know, have the score build, and then he walks out, and it's like, there's Batman. I just mean that it's just such a good opening that it could also work as an ending, as like just that speech and seeing those scenes of people still terrorizing the city, but they're still afraid of the Batman. You know, you don't even need to have the bit where he beats up the junkies or he beats up the
no, I know what you meant when you said cut to black, where he walks out of the darkness.
Yeah.
Where you hear his boots walking the entire time.
It's just I just mean it's such a good scene that it would work in any movie, any Batman movie. Selina Kyle, I think, is, for me, probably the weakest character. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just I'm more interested in all of the other characters, I think, in their respective ways.
No, I think the weakest character is Peter Skarsgård.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't really count him as, like, when I say character, I'm talking Batman, Catwoman, Gordon, Alfred, Falcone, Penguin. Like, Peter Skarsgård, I'm not and Riddler as well. I'm not counting Peter Skarsgård as a main character. He's a main feature of that scene.
Yeah. I don't know. I like her in this because, I don't just like her. I know you like her as well. I think she's great because she has her own connection into the case, because she's seen the photos of her friend.
Yeah.
And she takes it upon herself to retrieve the passport for her friend. So we see that she's obviously has some expertise in cat burglary. That's the term, right?
Yeah. Well, when I say that she's the weakest character, I really like that she has all of her own motivations, and what she's doing is kind of separate to what Batman is doing.
Yeah.
She's there to find her friend, and that's her endgame. Now, as the story progresses, she is roped into all these other things, and we find then also that she has different connections to the mystery, her being Falcone's daughter.
That she has access to the club.
That she has access, she is a way in for Batman. When I say that she's the weakest character, I just mean that in the sense that I just am more interested in the other characters. If all the other characters are at a 100%, she's at a 97%. Like, they're all... She is a good character. I don't mean that she is the weakest. Like, I know I said she was the weakest.
The fact that you said weak, I'm going to grill you and crucify you online. It's like, weak? How dare you?
No,
because I know what you mean. You're just more interested in other things, and in any other movie, I can be the same. I just think she's one of the many spot on things. Like I don't go on my phone when her screen time is on. I love her as Catwoman, and I think she's the best Catwoman there is.
I think so too. I think that her and Batman, I think that they have the most believable potential relationship. More so than Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
And more so than Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
I think that these two, Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson, have such chemistry and are so good together that I would believe that either one could possibly give up their role to be with the other.
Yeah, and I like how she's able to see the scars behind the mask. Like she's very flirtatious with him. She plays with him, and when she says, "Yeah, you probably don't even care what happens to me," and he goes to up close to her and look at me, and she goes to look up. Oh, I'm able to string you along in my poor girl damsel, but he's not like falling for that. Not because he knows she's stringing him along, because he's the detective. He's Batman. He's the loner. He says, "Looks good."
He can't afford to make those connections.
Yeah.
As much as he wants them, he can't afford to make those
when
connections.
she kisses him, he's like,
Yeah, you would believe that he's never kissed someone before because
like,
of
how
the way
could
he's
he?
lived his life.
But like she's trying to bring him out of his shell, and he's been given some form of hope of having something of a relationship that would be normal for him, but he just has his Batman duties.
Yeah.
He has to be here for God. That's why he doesn't leave with her in the end.
He can't. Yeah.
He can't. You know, no matter how much he would want this, and no matter how much he's not capable of it, of showcasing how much he wants this. Like, he doesn't smile, he doesn't grin, he doesn't smirk. He's always got the same upside down frown. His eye acting is still consistent throughout. Like, when he's looking at her, when he is looking at his mirror of her driving away in her motorbike, he still looks the same as he has. He still has the same look as he did when she kissed him.
Yeah.
There's no emotion to it. He can have reactions to, like, when he was with Alfred, who, by the way, I didn't mention. I fully believed he died in that explosion when I first watched the movie. Did they just kill Alfred? Because this is a new iteration of Batman.
Yeah,
Matt Reeves knows what not to do that feels repetitive. Killing Alfred is not something that is done.
Yeah, if they'd done that, it would have been a real, like, what the fuck, like, what is, you know, you think Batman and Robin, and then you think Batman and Alfred. You know, they are a pair.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I think with Selena, I think that one of my favorite scenes with her is when she has to go into the club with the eye scanner thing, and that she has to go. It's not the Iceberg Lounge, is it? It's what's it called, below 40 or something.
44, I think.
That she has to go in and she has to make eye contact, and she has Batman in her ear.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, look at him. And she's like, I don't, like, if I go over there, it's going to be a whole thing. And that she has to look over at people and make eye contact with them. And then when she sits down with the
Skarsgård.
What was he, a senator? No, he's DA, sorry.
Yeah.
When she sits down with him, and she has to further the conversation, but he wants her to further it on a different route towards the Riddler, but she wants to further it towards her friend.
Yeah.
That they have, it's the same person, but she's talking to the same person, Peter Skarsgård, but she has one voice in her ear wanting to go one direction and she wants to go another. And I think it's a great scene just of her, like, trying to get this information and flirting with him, and then seeing her in that kind of manipulative way, and then as she goes to leave, bumping into Falcone, and she's immediately like, you know,
so she's a scared little girl,
not wanting to make eye contact, and he's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, how are you? And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm good, you know, like, doesn't know what to say, like,
and then when she's struggling to continue that night, she gets angry and removes the
and
thing
takes him,
from her.
and he's gone, and she does what she wants to do, like, she's
and
not,
it takes a while later for her to come back to call out Batman again. And I remember when I was watching her, how does she address him? She doesn't call him Batman. She knows she can't call him Bruce. She doesn't know he's Bruce. She says, "You in there?" Like, she doesn't
just
know
general terms.
What does she call him?
In a more comic book movie, she'd call him Bats or something like that, but she just, like, I think that right now, for the way that their relationship was left off, it's just general terms, like, are you there? You know, like,
I think it's very brave for someone like her to be intrigued with someone like him. This dark cloaked vigilante mysterious figure going around beating up baddies, trying to do some good. It's crazy. And their first interaction together, where they have a little scruffle,
that's great.
and then they're forced to be quiet, and he grabs onto her. She tries to get off for a second, but then she doesn't. Like, them two holding each other like that doesn't look like that's something they've had to someone else in ages.
Yeah.
He's never been able to be up that close to a woman. When was the last time she felt secure in a situation like that?
Yeah, and realised that, oh, no, he's protecting me. He doesn't want me to be caught either.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and, like, she let him do that as well. So I like that, and I like how she's trying to not let her kill Falcone because Falcone killed her friend because her friend knew that Falcone was the rat, the victim to the murderer, the soon to be victim of the murderer and that the Riddler. And I like how she's not afraid of jumping off balconies either.
No, she'll put herself at risk also.
Yeah, and that like little joke, "Don't worry about me, baby. I've got 9 lives." I like that, and then she goes in. She's able to damsel and distress herself into the lounge, and I like how, of course, it's the natural way to prevent her from doing the one thing Batman has a rule against, and he stops her. And not to like jump ahead, but just to finish on with, I like how we shift away from the whole Falcone aspect back to the Riddler, and she's not around until we see her again trying to leave the city, and then that's when the flooding starts, and she's there to help out Batman however she can. And I like she witnessed the rage Batman executes in assaulting the Riddler goon.
Yeah,
like I remember that being in the trailer.
Yeah, so do I. And she really like.
Yeah, she like whoa,
what's going on? Yeah.
I thought that was the actual Riddler, and that he was beating him to death.
Yeah,
I fully believe. Oh,
I remember that too. Yeah, that obviously, you know, with the way that the trailer portrays it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I love the little interaction between them after he gets like point blank shot with a shotgun in the chest.
Yeah.
And he's still trying to get up, and she's like, "No, it's okay. Like
you can
stay
rest.
down. You rest. You know, like I think that their chemistry is great, and I think that if she doesn't appear in the second film, I hope she doesn't appear in the second film. I'd love to give her a little break. So that means that if we get a third film and she can come back, you'll really miss her presence and then want to see her again.
Yeah, but then I don't know, man. You need you need a female lead. I think you need it.
Yeah, but I could see. I think if we're doing if I know it's speculating for another film, I would like to see maybe a female book come in specifically for Bruce rather than Batman. I'd like to expand on Bruce.
That's a good idea.
I think maybe Vicky Vale or something like that. Like
I don't know who that is.
She's a reporter. She'd like nearly like. I would say like she's a competitor to Lois Lane, like in terms of like reporting, but not in the same vein of like Lois and Clark.
I think that I think that'd actually be interesting. Maybe
just to expand on Bruce as opposed to the Batman,
enforcing the grounded realness that she left Gotham. She's not coming back.
She's not coming back. Yeah, it's not going to be as simple as we're back. So
we're back for the sequel. So
all the characters have to come back. Falcone, a great mobster. Like a great mob guy, you know.
Oh, John Turturro did such a great job.
He's a great guy, and I think of him in like comedic roles.
Yeah,
I naturally think of him in like Big Lebowski and Transformers. To be honest with you, I think of him in Transformers when I think.
So do I. We grew up in Transformers.
So to see him as a mobster, a real he's the type of guy who's really reserved, and you wouldn't know what he's thinking, especially because he wears the glasses.
Yeah, he never takes them off.
No, you could definitely see like an interaction going on ahead, kind of in the same way that like maybe Joe Pesci is in Goodfellas, where like you'd be having a conversation, Falcone would like turn, he'd laugh, he'd like, oh, you know, get a load of this guy, bam, you're shot, you're dead. You know,
I don't actually get that feeling.
No, you don't feel like he could just turn, like you wouldn't know what he's thinking at all.
No, not like that.
Okay,
not like that. Of course, obviously, we see in the movie he does things like that, but not in the way like the Joe Pesci way.
No, well, not to that extent. I just mean that like when Joe Pesci, like that, you could think you're on one level with him, but actually you're on another level.
No, I think I couldn't see that comparison because Joe Pesci is a loud, rowdy, noisy.
Yeah, well, I don't mean it in that sense. I mean it just on the you think you're on one level, but you're actually on another, and you don't even realize.
Like how I really gave some thought about how I wanted to describe Falcone in this. Mm-hmm. He's not a typical mobster as he was in the Batman Begins, or even in Gotham. The guy who played him in Gotham, John Doman, I think his name was. He was great. He was in The Boys for a bit.
To be honest with you, I've seen all of Gotham, but I just can't remember him. I remember him in the Christopher Nolan ones, but if you bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to look him up.
Until this movie, John Doman was the best.
Oh, I remember him. Yeah.
John Doman was the best actor who played Falcone.
Yeah.
But it was the best interpretation of Falcone. Here?
Now it's John Turturro.
Yeah. He's the best actor in the picture of Falcone.
Falcone is a great character just in the sense that like it's good to have just normal guys
Yeah,
in terms
that's
of like
not Penguin.
that's not the Penguin,
because
or, like,
because Penguin is a mobster.
when it comes to like Batman and like his rogues gallery of villains, obviously you have like Joker, Riddler,
Very out
Clayface,
there,
like,
ecstatic.
super villains.
Yeah.
But it is good to just have Falcone and Maroni, just
Yeah.
like, you know, the heads of mafia crime
The
families.
fact that they have two,
yeah, you know,
Falcone and Maroni, those are very like they were both in Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
They're both mentioned here. So what I like about Falcone here is that when Bruce Wayne approaches him and he go, hey, everybody, watch yourself. Don't you know what this is? This is the Prince of Gotham. And that he tells him the story of how I was shot and I was brought to your father's place and he patched me up. So that established a relationship between his parents. Don't take this the wrong way, but that's given me like Luke Skywalker to that of a relationship with Vader and Obi-Wan.
okay, yeah.
You can see where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
Because-
like,
because
with
you-
Batman is obviously Luke in that like he would hear these stories but not
Yes.
experience them and never got to see the two of them together.
He's relying upon the one that's alive to tell him these stories.
Yeah.
So when he learns, based on the Riddler's findings, that his father was responsible of having a reporter murdered, that's when he went to Falcone to confront him, to ask him, is this real? And what I like here
It
is
can only go based on what Falcone says.
Exactly.
No other way.
I like how he appears as Bruce Wayne. Second time he appears at the club, this time as Bruce Wayne. First,
It's a great
recurring joke
with the bodyguards, or the
twins.
bouncers, yeah,
The twins.
That he turns up and he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And they won't let him in. And then when he turns up as Bruce Wayne, "Do you know who I am?" And they're like, "Oh fuck, it's Bruce Wayne. Let him in." You know, and there's no trouble whatsoever. I love that, just in that aspect of that he would always think that Batman is the best way to go about these things.
Yeah.
But now he can think maybe some, you know, sometimes it's not a sledgehammer, it's a knife.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I can turn up as Bruce Wayne, and that is actually probably better for me to come in as Bruce Wayne. It's a great little moment.
But then the third time later, towards the end, when he's trying to stop Selina from killing Falcone, he actually just sneaks in.
yeah.
Yeah, so like, fuck, I'm done playing around with this.
But it's a great contrast to have him turn up as two different versions of himself and
Yeah.
get two completely different reactions from the bouncers.
And the bouncers just keep appearing with more bruises and scars on their faces. And they're all
great.
beaten up even more so. But back to Falcone, he gives them. He tells everyone to get out of the room, and it's just a conversation between Bruce Wayne and Falcone. And while I acknowledge that this is Falcone in a position of he's in a more advantageous position because he's experienced it. He's got the history, and there's no one around to contradict him. So he can tell whatever narrative he wants. And when Falcone tells Bruce that Bruce's father came to him with a concern that this reporter, this journalist, was going to out his, Martha Wayne, with her mental health and being institutionalized in Arkham, and anything else that would tarnish his campaign to become mayor. This is
even. I don't. Was it that, or was it more so that he was concerned for Martha's well-being?
It was more. It was concerned.
He didn't really care about the campaign.
You know,
it was more so love for his wife.
Yeah, I suppose that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. I suppose maybe that's an after the fact. Like it wasn't just about his campaign to be mayor.
Something can be twofold. Something can be for the two things.
Yeah, but no, but I agree with you. It is.
Yeah.
It was more for his wife. What I like here is that Thomas Wayne was a real good Boy Scout.
Yeah.
He was a true hero trying to do good things to make good change in Gotham City. When he's faced with something that could harm his wife's and her reputation, that he feels like he's got nowhere else to turn to but Falcone, and that signifies that his desperation to go to the bad guy who knows he can do some bad illegal things, that he needs help. Like, we've seen that in movies before, where the real good guy needs something done, but there's no legal way to prevent it. So he turns to this bad guy he knows he helped out one time, who essentially owes him a favor. And I'm fantasizing this in my head, and that Falcone is approached by this guy. Hey, he's appearing all friendly to this doctor who saved his life. He's like, he's gonna welcome him with open arms and good graces, offer him a drink, and he's gonna talk him. He's gonna praise him to the roof in front of all his guys, you know. And I like that when he's being presented with this problem, that he is going to go more than above and beyond to ensure that his mind is set at ease and that his wife's reputation is not going to be tarnished, that he's going to look out for this guy because he saved my life. And even though Falcone would like to see him as Wayne's friend, because at the end of the day, it's up to him however he wants to perceive himself as, because he is a mobster capable of murder and corruption and doing whatever the hell he wants because he runs the city.
Yeah.
And Wayne probably doesn't think that, but he knows that this guy owes him a favour, but he knows that he's a reasonable guy. He's not he might be in organised crime, but he's not a psychopath. And he's come to him for this help. And I would have loved to have seen that type of relationship in some form, because Falcone would probably like to see this guy as his friend, who he can also manipulate and get access to things that he probably couldn't if Wayne was mayor. And
See, it's interesting because I think with Falcone, he's an opportunistic guy where, yes, Thomas Wayne saved him, and so in his mind, I owe you one. As soon as Thomas cashes that in, he's like, I've got one up on you.
Yeah.
Because even though it's like, we're square now, we're equal, like you saved me and I dealt with that problem for you, he'll hold that over him. You know, like and he can hold like I did that for you. You know,
and he might not want to do that because he would probably like the idea of being friends and in the good graces. It's like stuff you've seen in Goodfellas, like with Robert De Niro trying to look out for Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta doesn't know if he can trust him anymore. It's things like that, and it's making things awkward then to the point where, well, things gotta go. And I don't know if he killed Thomas Wayne. We were both of the belief that no, it's just some crook, and if Falcone saw that on TV, I mean, oh, what a shame.
Yeah, I almost had my in there with the mayor.
Yeah,
he could have.
But then he'd probably be, I don't know. You know what? Probably he wouldn't be thinking like that. He wouldn't be thinking that I lost out on a potential friend there. But you know who I think would, but be more of that mindset? Penguin.
Well, before you go on to the Penguin, I just wanted to say my one final thing about Falcone.
Yeah.
My favourite scene with Falcone.
Yeah.
After he gets shot and he's lying in the street and he looks up at Batman and he knows now he's Bruce. Do you not get that?
Is that right?
Well, he has that moment when he's talking with Bruce a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So I was lying on the table and I looked up and I saw that little kid staring at me between the banisters. I'll never forget that face. And then that moment where he's dying, he looks up and Bruce is looking down at him. And he has that kind of moment where on his face where I really read it as like he recognizes them. He said, I'll never forget that face. He's looking up and he's seeing the same angle that he did on that table. And he's connected it now that's Bruce.
Oh my God.
That's how I always interpret it. I was like, oh shit, he got it and now he's dead. You know?
I never got that.
Oh, that was how I interpreted it.
That's actually really good. I feel like I'm going to watch that scene.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to go back and watch that movie. Wow. Do you know what that's really great then? Is that like you've been shown the awards, but you don't get to live the benefits after it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, Penguin.
Penguin is a great, like, he's a real goon. You know, like a thug character. Do you know what I mean? If Falcone is nice and reserved and like obviously wearing his sunglasses and like just he would treat you in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Penguin is very much a New York style, like, hey, yo, whoa, hey, what are you doing this for? You know,
take it
easy. You gotta work on your bedside manner. What's going on? You don't know Spanish? It's El Rata. You know, like he's just a real like goon. Like you know,
he's a real wind up penguin, isn't he?
He is. He's the only reason he is the boss is because someone else has died.
Yeah.
Like no one, he I don't think would have made it in this film. He wouldn't have made it to the top by himself. Like he's stumbled upon it.
And
you know?
Do you know what I do? Right, first of all, his introduction is like, whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
Easy, yeah.
I
It's in the iceberg line.
It
isn't
is.
Like, yeah.
Like, he comes in to diffuse the situation. Like, he's not going to take on Batman.
No.
And I like in the room where he's cooperating with Batman in these photos. And he says, I'm even walking out of this at the same time with this guy, but I don't know who he is. Don't know where he went. And I like, you might think, oh, this guy can be some sort of help. Like how I've mentioned with Falcone. Even though you see Falcone as something as a potential trusting ally because you've got no other choice and all you have to do is go on his story. Any hope with that of Penguin? Nah. And do you know what solidified that, deterred any hope, is when after a little scruffle with Penguin and Batman in his office, and he's noticed, oh, Selina, that girl, she's my next lead. Penguin hands Batman the photos. I'll tell you this one thing. Oh, a real sign of wisdom, something to take note for down the line. She's one hot chick. that was kind of unnecessary, but
He's just that type of guy. He'll make a comment on
it.
Everything.
It just slapped you on the face with the ignorantness and stupidity that character has. And he was in a sparingly, but he was also in a lot of scenes that he was on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
That scene where Bruce comes to visit Falcone, the funeral scene where you see him in a wide shot. Like, you're getting Colin Farrell in all these prosthetics, and you're shooting him on a wide shot. You're not getting him in some single profile shot. He says, "Step out right this way, Mr. Falcone," and he's stopping Bruce from getting too close. Penguin is a loyal motherfucker.
Yeah.
He is loyal to Falcone to the bitter end, and he's going to defend his operations and defend his organization, not let Batman steal his money. He has this chase. This is a fantastically executed, well shot, well paced, well edited chase scene.
Yeah.
I feel like I could see everything, and Penguin's not afraid to dirty up his car, his
Especially
mobile.
for a chase scene that takes place completely at night time.
Yeah.
You know, it's you understand the geography and you understand everything that's going on with it.
Yeah, I love how he's gonna crash into all these other vehicles and force Batman into an explosion that he can get away. And when he sees the explosion behind him, this is in the trailer. He goes, I got you, I got you, and then boom, the car comes out of the explosion, and the look. Right, this is in two separate shots in this sequence. Penguin's looking at the rearview mirror and his shock,
The disbelief that
the disbelief. He can't even believe it. He turns back. He's behind his seat to look. If you watch that scene, two shots. He can't believe this guy, this Terminator, has just risen from the fire and just crashed that car to bits, tumbled it over. That's the tumbler of this movie, is Penguin's car flipping over.
Yeah.
No way he survived that, but he did anyway. And I like the fear of him, of Penguin, looking at this monster, this demon, approaching him, coming towards him. That score and the sound of the boots and the fire in the background. Batman is upside down from Penguin's perspective. And then when he gets closer and he kneels down to look at Penguin, Batman is still upside down. But then you look at Penguin again, but he's the other way around. Because Batman is looking at Penguin. You're looking at Penguin from Batman's perspective.
It's such an interesting way to do it that the whole film is from Batman's perspective, but the chase is from Penguin's. Like
You're actually right. You're right. It feels like it is. Obviously, you get both instances, but
you feel like you're more so following Penguin and being chased by Batman.
And I don't think I recall the adrenaline and rush from Batman in any other moment of the movie, other than when he's taken some adrenaline to make himself rage and get up so quick and so viciously. There's a shot of Robert Pattinson as Batman in his car where he's like, I don't know, up the gear and went and drove a little bit faster, flying into some cones, and it feels like the rush. I can't find my words, David. You need to watch the movie and see what I mean. Like he's not letting this guy get away, and he catches him. And then the little joke with Penguin tied up, and then he's
waddling away.
like a
Yeah,
penguin.
it's very good.
And that was done so well as well, because you're not expecting it, and it's not too silly to not be in this movie. It was funny. It was great. And as I said, loyal to the end as a mobster until Falcone.
He's revealed as the rat. Yeah.
And to all that trust, loyalty, admiration, down the drain, out the window, in the bin.
But I think that's par for the course when it comes to someone being a rat.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as they're a rat, that's the worst thing you can be.
But what
you could kill everyone in the room, but if you're a rat, you're worse than the killer.
But what I like is that Falcone is taunting Penguin. It's like, you think you're the big man now, Oz? You're just a bumbling clown. You're an idiot. And like,
I think that's kind of nearly Falcone almost wanting him to kill him. Like,
I would
to
think
not
so.
Be locked up.
Yeah, I would think so. To lead him on, and that ending with Penguin, like the city is underwater and Batman's gonna be busy.
Now is his time.
It's ready for the taking. He's gotta be in the sequel for something. I don't know for what minutes of screen time, but look, they were able to make the Riddler the main bad guy, and he's not in an awful lot of this movie, you know.
Yeah,
and they found time for Penguin.
But I'm glad then that we got to expand upon the Penguin within the TV series. I know we said we wouldn't talk about it, but I think that it's great to expand that, so that way by the time that the second one comes around, we don't need to focus on that.
Yeah,
that we can move on with a different part of the story. Still have him in it,
yeah,
but a different part of the story.
And Colin Farrell, best iteration of the Penguin.
Yeah. I suppose the only other iteration is Danny DeVito, and that's a very different version. That's a wow.
Well, no, Gotham,
I like the Gotham Penguin, actually. I quite like him as well, but
and
I can see the argument being made for him being the best Penguin, yeah.
Who, Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell, yeah.
Yeah. He is. Without a doubt, he is. For even for this movie alone, he is the best depiction. Now, I'll admit, the guy who played Penguin in the Gotham series, he was the best character in the series.
Yeah, I really liked him in the Riddler. I liked the two of them together.
I hated the Riddler.
Did you?
In the Gotham show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna curse. I don't want to curse, but I will curse.
Go.
I fucking hated the Riddler in Gotham. I hated him with a passion. I had no love for him. I was frustrated. That's one of the reasons why I don't like the show either. I like it, but I don't like it because I don't care. These guys have to be alive for Batman to fight in a time that we're not going to witness. They don't have. That doesn't have to be that. So I can see some of these guys die. Riddler should have died. I hated Riddler in that show. I hated him so much. I loved Penguin more.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I get you.
Yeah.
So then, how are your feelings towards this version of the Riddler?
Oh, it's the best Riddler.
The best Riddler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose when you only have that one and
Jim
Carrey to go up against, I can understand that. I like the way that they changed him up to be a kind of a QAnon, like, deep dweller of the internet, and really kind of a loner character who has found a niche online and is able to exploit other people's fears and use them to fulfill his goals.
You know, funny enough, you just reminded me of Scarecrow for some reason.
Why is that?
I don't know. Fear,
exploiting
maybe.
People's fear?
Yeah, maybe. But I like how that is something that can be real.
Yeah, that's I think the scariest part about him as a character here is that the possibility that this is all it would take would be a group of 50 to 100 people, all
30
even, yeah, they go. So like that
well, in the movie, in the end, you know,
in the movie, in the end, yeah, 30 people or so, but like realistically in real life, if it was, you know, a group of well organized 50 to 100 people, like that, they could cause mass hysteria. Cause something.
Where were you in January 6th or something like
there
that?
You go. That's a good that's a good point. Yeah, no.
See,
and that's an unorganized group. That's just people storming, you know. But if people had put their mind to it and like are disillusioned with society and want to do bad like that's
well, yeah, but they believe that they're doing good.
They believe they're doing good. They believe that they are washing away the sins of the world, or whatever.
Because they're inspired by Batman.
Yeah,
but I like this Riddler first and foremost because he just looks like a dweeb.
Yeah.
He's a dork.
He looks upon like he is on the fringes of society.
Yeah. But he works in forensics. He looks like someone who could come from IT or works in a McDonald's. But he's he's obviously smart. He's smarter than Batman, and that's where he says my strength is up here, not in here. Like he couldn't do the things that Batman physically can do.
He's smart, but has never got the opportunity to be in the right position to use his intellect. You know,
and he's inspired by Batman. He thinks he's working with Batman. Well, even though realistically he is interacting with Batman as if he's inviting Batman. If throughout the movie you're thinking he's being taunted by Batman, that he is taunting Batman, when realistically he's in Riddler's head, he is sending him in clues,
bringing him along,
like we're a team. And so to the point that he was going to have himself imprisoned. Like, what a sacrifice for your teammate to do. But he feels betrayed by that when he's been informed by Batman, you're gonna die in here. You're crazy. You're a murderer.
He doesn't see it in the same way.
Yeah, and I think this is a great way to do the Riddler. Like, when did we have the Riddler last? We had him in Gotham and we had him in Jim Carrey. I thought he was going to be in the Dark Knight Rises, but no, that was Bane. And it's how is it not the best iteration of the Riddler?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that it's a character who, realistically, if you described him to someone who's never read or experienced anything of Batman, there's a character, he's a villain, but he leaves clues, he leaves riddles.
Like Zodiac.
Yeah, it's like what? That sounds so ridiculous. But it's someone who is so smart but wants to be acknowledged for how smart they are as well. You know, they want to be praised for how smart they are, so they have to, it's like a compulsion to to leave something that someone else could figure out, so they could be like, wow, that was so smart, you know, I gotta give that guy praise or something like that, you know.
What I do like also with the Riddler is, I believe when he kills his first victim, that's the first time he's killed someone.
Yeah.
His loud viciousness, his struggle in screaming to attack someone, very, like, bludgeon someone to death and then hurt someone and like, with that tool. When you see that tool, that carpet tucker, you're thinking, what is that? Is that a hammer? But is it like a chisel? You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I like how amateuristic he appears in his actions, but he's a pro in stringing along the police and leading the clues behind.
Well, that's what he, like you said there earlier, you know, his strength is in his head. You know, it's not brute force. So when he has to do those things, he does struggle. You know, he struggles with...
He falls when he hits the first guy.
Exactly, yeah. Like, he isn't a big, strong brute like Batman.
Yeah.
He is very much... He uses his intellect. So he does struggle with those moments where he has to be physical.
Yeah, and I like in the funeral that he was there... He was standing there in the balcony.
Yeah.
Like, he was there watching everyone.
He wants to witness it. Like, he wants to admire his own works as well.
And... he was obviously staring at Bruce Wayne there as well, like,
because he's his next victim.
Yeah,
he's next after the DA. Yeah.
Oh, this movie's so good.
It's a great mystery throughout, with so many different levels and so many different layers and so many different characters. It's great to just let the mystery unfold. I think maybe that was kind of why I took so long to watch it after the first one again, because I nearly want to forget the mystery. I want to forget the elements to it. I want to uncover it as the story went on, you know?
Do you remember watching it and thinking, I know the Riddler is Paul Dano, but they never revealed his face in the trailers or in anything really, and they've been obscuring his face. I like when they reveal a mysterious villain's face, even though you know what the actor looks like.
It's one of those things that maybe it kind of nearly future-proofs it, where... Obviously, we lived in a time where we're watching the marketing and we're knowing who the cast is and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, say, my kid watching it... He's not going to know who that is, you know. So, if there is ever a moment where you see... I know it obviously not in this movie, but like if we were to bump into someone before they're revealed to be the bad guy, you don't know that. So, like, the Riddler for him or her, whoever, you know, my kid, if they're watching it, they won't know... Unless they look up beforehand that Paul Dano plays the Riddler, like it's just going to be the Riddler. You know what I mean? Before it's Paul Dano. For me, it's Paul Dano before Riddler. But for someone else, it is hopefully Riddler before Paul Dano.
Yeah. Did you know that Jonah Hill was originally in talks to star in this movie?
Jonah Hill?
Yeah.
As who?
I thought it was supposed to be Riddler, but I've been seeing things that it was originally Penguin.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, Jonah Hill is a good actor. Like, in fairness,
I struggle. It was supposed to be Penguin. I have to believe it was for the Riddler.
Yeah,
but they weren't going to pay him his worth. So
I think when I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but when that initial trailer came out with Colin Farrell in the Penguin makeup,
yeah,
I was like, he looks so much like Richard Kind. Why didn't they just get Richard Kind?
Because he's not Colin Farrell.
I know, yeah, because as soon as you see him playing the Penguin, you're like, oh no, okay, yeah, this is a great performance. Not that Richard Kind isn't a great actor and would give a great performance, but Colin Farrell gives a fantastic performance as him. And I know obviously he's under those layers of makeup, but if you had shown me the Batman without me knowing anything about it beforehand, never in a million years would I guess that was Colin Farrell. He just disappears. I know he's under prosthetics, but still I wouldn't have guessed that it was Colin Farrell.
Even the fact that you know he's under prosthetics,
he still disappears within the role. You still don't think, oh, it's Colin Farrell. You think it's the Penguin.
But sure, we already talked about that in the Penguin anyway.
Yeah, that's actually a good point to say before we go any further. Make sure to listen back. If you want to hear us talk fully about the Penguin, just go back in our feeds. We talked about it when the finale released, so make sure to listen back to that.
I think we've covered all the characters, all the necessary characters there have been. So I think after this lengthy discussion, I'm confident in saying that this is my favourite Batman movie. This is my favourite Gotham. And it probably is my favourite Batman.
And I think it's probably my favourite Batman score. I think that the music in this is just, it's chef kiss. It's just so good.
Did Michael Giacchino complete the main score within a few days after being informed he's got the gig?
I don't know, but I'd say that sometimes when... Well, this is, my own assumption. I assume that sometimes when composers get certain projects, they just dive right into it. It's like, okay, I've imagined how I would score Batman my entire life. I've had this song in my head for my entire life, and now I can finally do it. I think that some composers already have okay, here's what I'd do if I was on this project or on this or on this. So if that is the case where he completed it within a week, completely understand.
It is hard to beat Hans Zimmer.
Yeah. But this one comes pretty close. I think that it's probably my favourite.
Yeah, well, the fact that I feel quicker to watch this. See, Hans Zimmer's score of Batman is still very Nolan-esque of his style and filmography. When I listen to this score, I'm obviously thinking of Batman, but I'm thinking of Nirvana, I'm thinking of Michael Giacchino, I'm thinking of Gotham, I'm thinking of the sequences the score is used in.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I'm thinking of many different things of the score.
Whereas when you listen to the Dark Knight version, you're thinking of Christopher Nolan.
Mostly.
Yeah,
and Hans Zimmer, of course.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I never thought of it like that. But the Batman version, the Michael Giacchino score, evokes a lot of the film itself and the setting and the story and all, as opposed to the director. I think I never thought of it like that, but definitely
it does. It really does. So I think that's a wrap up. Do you look forward to seeing what do you expect of the Batman Part 2? And do you suspect this will conclude in a trilogy?
I hope so, that it's a trilogy. I would love to see a trilogy. I don't, because of how good this film is and how good I know the next film will be, I don't mind waiting the long time between, because obviously currently the Batman 2 is scheduled for 2026.
That's great.
So this one, so it's 4 years between.
5. Isn't it 5?
2022 to 2026.
That's right.
So 4 years between. So I don't mind waiting those. If then 2026 meant that the next one would be 2030, I know it's a scary prospect to have 3 movies, like the next one, the final chapter to come out in 2030. But making a movie to this quality and this enjoyment level, I'm happy to wait, and then to in 2030 have my completed Robert Pattinson Batman trilogy. And I don't think that this is it's not a controversial opinion. I think it's a very popular opinion to have, or to speculate on, is that because obviously this movie takes place at Halloween, October, that the next one taking place a couple of weeks later in winter would feel very at home to have Mr. Freeze. And I think Mr. Freeze has that story of a character who is trying to save his wife and realistically is in his mind the hero and trying to do a noble deed of saving his wife, but going about it in the wrong ways. I know that that's a trope of that's what makes a good villain, is someone that's the hero of their own story. I think genuinely Mr. Freeze is the hero of his own story, like genuinely. And Batman has in the past worked with Mr. Freeze because he sees what he's doing, or sees what his end goal is, to save Nora.
Yeah.
And he believes, we need to save Nora, but let's now go about it the right way. So I think that will be a really interesting story to tell. How that will be a mystery, I think it's important to keep some kind of mystery element to it.
How it will be done in a way where he doesn't have a freeze ray gun.
Yeah, I don't need that level of it.
No,
I think that,
what do you mean? You don't?
No.
You can't have that
know.
level. No,
not for this world anyway.
He can't be. He cannot have a disease where he needs to live in a certain fridge or freezing room temperature. No, he needs to be some sort of sociopath, or he needs to be something that
is realistic and you believe.
Yes, no extravaganza, no out there, far-reaching, nearly hard to believe, but just about believable stuff. No.
But I would just love to see a Batman story take place in the winter in the snow.
Yeah, and that can be great. And I think it's quite popular for everyone to just quickly say, "Oh, let's do Mr. Freeze," because he's the next popular one that has not been done so much. And I think but at the end of the day, do whatever the story takes, and if that means a new villain that's not popularized, well then do that.
Yeah. And I think it would naturally make sense to conclude a trilogy with Joker.
So I guess we're talking about.
Well, we don't need to talk about him. I'm just saying speculatory that.
Would you like to see him in the second one at least?
No,
not at all.
No,
right.
I would be happy to not have him there at all. Not even to the same level that he is in this one,
or even in the deleted scene that was released afterwards.
I don't count deleted scenes.
This particular deleted scene was such an isolated spotlight on this conversation and these two characters, and obviously the Joker character, like Barry Keoghan, that I think if it was kept in the movie, it would make the final scene with him and Riddler make more sense.
I just think that
I think
it's deleted for a reason.
I don't know. I think if you keep one, you either keep both or you take out all. I don't think you keep it in if you're keeping in the end, because the end is a real tacked on added there because the studio says so. But if you had it in,
that's why I mean that I'd be fine with him not appearing at all in the second film and just then the third one, because even I have seen the deleted scene. I don't like the look of him. I don't like the way he's all scarred like that, and he's
unattractive to look at.
Yeah, I think
the fact that Heath Ledger's more attractive to look at than
yeah. I don't like.
He's very disgusting looking.
He is disgusting looking. He looks like he's been freshly beaten and all his teeth have been knocked out. Now, I'd like to see that at the end of the third movie after he's been battling Batman. But I think put a break on him for the second one and then bring him back for the third. And it could even be a duel in the same way that The Dark Knight is kind of Joker and Two-Face. Like, do a duel bad guy for the third film due to major antagonists. Do Harvey Dent and Joker again. I know it would be too reminiscent of the third film, but
I don't know. Look, do what the story does, but I do feel like you're gonna bring back Riddler again.
I don't need Riddler back at all.
Yeah, bring him back to do something with him, but I don't know. I don't want an entire movie with the same villain again.
Okay.
Like, I don't want Riddler to come back to be a main villain again, even if he's dueling it with the Joker.
Yeah. I could see maybe, if anything, that Batman might go to the Riddler for help.
That could be a possible... Yeah, you know what? That's better. But he seems to have formed some sort of friendship with the Joker that I could see Joker still manipulate Riddler.
Yeah. I could definitely see if it's Joker on the outside and Batman goes into Riddler to help, but he doesn't know that they've formed some kind of friendship. He could lead him down the wrong path.
Yeah, it's very unknown, isn't it? We don't know where to go.
Yeah.
One last thing. Which is a better cast? This or The Dark Knight?
This, I think.
Think about
it. It's hard because I think The Dark Knight has so many veterans as well. Like
Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, and then you get in the more middle age with Heath Ledger and Christian Bale and
Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I still pick this one. Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis, Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, and
I think I like this cast maybe a
Paul Dano and Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Like, just getting down, like, wow. It's good. It's good, David.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, make sure you subscribe to us with new episodes every single Wednesday. If you enjoyed this spotlight, make sure to send in your suggestions for spotlight episodes, sending them in to talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com, or you can just comment on one of our social media posts or on YouTube, wherever you're watching this. Just tell us and we'll definitely have a look at it and see if it's something we want to talk about. As I said, new episodes every single Wednesday. Make sure that you subscribe to us on your favourite podcasting app of choice, as well as on our socials. They're all in the description down below. Brian, any final words before we let these people go?
Let's take a break.
Take a break. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, David.